okay, in the sun like that. Excuse me. So even also when he made the stars and the sun and the moon, and he made them for great lights, see, to I don't want to mess it up exactly with words because I don't have a Bible here with me, but we know what we're talking about. And then when we're talking about the sun to rule the lesser, and the moon to, the sun to rule one group of people, and the moon to rule the lesser. I'm even thinking almost even the North and the South here in the Americas, and I'm thinking when we're talking about uh, Moorish or even Muslims representing the moon, right? And then, the sun representing, I'm trying to take you there. The sun, representing that which would be something that came over into the land from the east or from whichever way, again, it was coming in again. Well, I guess it says like the sun comes from the east, but again, you get my drift, right? But let's not forget that before anybody came in to hear from Germany or Britain or anything, you're already dealing with Russians or Siberians and Mongoloid groups and Khan and things like that. Because we look at the whole Khan story like it all happened in another part of the world, but again, a lot of that again had to do with the Americas as well. Mandarin, again, all that energy I'm sensing here. So again, before that even happened, we already had China supposedly in 1421, and we also had other groups coming in to the West Coast, right? Japan, darker races. I've done videos on that to the full extent. You can go back and watch those. But again, then later on, we have the so-called English or British. Okay, but I hope that you get what I'm kind of trying to say here. I'm trying to bring it symbolically, historically, and spiritually into one kind of narrative. All right, and then nowadays, what we're doing, because again, we are the ones we've been waiting for. So again, I'm able to see certain things, not everything, but I'm able to see people pick up on their energies and see, like, if I have a connection with certain people, especially nowadays, right? With people having platforms and stuff like that, and the things, the kind of work that we're doing, the purpose that we're here for, the parts that we play, because we all play a part. I'm able to see and pick up on that energy after observing, not even really purposely, over time, being like in the same group or circle or so-called community with certain people. I can see certain people and their energy and what parts, again, they play, right? And that's in the heavens of this world, which is in elevated statuses, and then those that are on the lower, okay? So again, that's just one thing, right? So let's finish listening here. So again, I feel like I said, and that sometimes it feels like, yeah, there's something in the way of communication, in a sense, even when it comes to, if we want to say that there is a sun energy, energy, male energy, or again, divine energy as whether male or female, as the sun. But there's supposed to be, in my eyes, a connection between, again, that of the earth, in a sense. That's just how I see it. So again, to subdue and replenish so that someone can reign on the earth. And that reign is not talking about raindrops, it's talking about ruling the earth. And at this point in time, it's looking like the earth doesn't want to be ruled, right? Because the earth can recognize these things from time and time and time and time again, right? Can sense the moves that are being made, even though she can't pinpoint them. Wisdom, the Ruach, that was there from the beginning when God stretched this thing out. The wisdom that God tells man that he should go to get information. And if he can't get to her, then he need to then go to God in the Apocrypha, in the Book of Solomon. So let's keep going.
Projected to the sun. There has to be a buffer between the earth and the sun, and that is the moon.
Okay, so there's a buffer between the sun and the earth, and this is the moon. I can see kind of like what they're saying if we're talking about like the so-called fixed things that I'm looking up right now at the moon right now in my backyard, right? But again, I know that it's symbolic for something else, allegorical for something else, and I do see a certain energy, a person that always I am reminded of the moon when I see this particular individual, and I know that they are one of the ones that are called, right? For whatever reason, however you want, because we're talking about different gods. There's gods, plural or more, in the biblical text. There's no question about it. Anybody that's saying it is not, they're not reading the Bible properly. So again, there are groups here among us. We are not all the same in a sense, right? So that's why I think when people say we and they say who is we, you're not talking about me, you know, that we're basically talking about. I mean, it's true. It's true. I think it's just something that we it's a learned habit, right? All right. So again, the buffer between. So yeah. So the buffer between, and that there has to be one. Somebody's saying that there has to be one, but I don't know if that is true. I don't know if that's by design, that's that way to prevent or block something. It's almost the same thing like how I'm just saying, like how we saying, oh, they blocking out the sun. Well, you know, is someone blocking out a portion of the sun that's supposed to be dealing with the earth at this point in time? In a symbolic or allegorical manner, or a realistic manner, or when it comes to some of these strange things that have been posted up around the nation that may be also giving off certain types of energy or restricting certain energy.
The moon rotates around the earth. How we notice is because you see it in different phases. It's like, imagine you seeing a car pulling off, and you see the front of the car, side of the car, and then the back of the car, and then you don't see the car no more.
Okay. So again, the moon, remember, she was standing there with the stars around her head, and then she had the sun above her and the moon at her feet, right? I forget what else I was going to say, but again, this is what is making me think. And how he said that you can see the moon, in different phases. Sometimes in one energy, another time in another energy. Again, I'm guessing with the sun or the earth too. But then, sometimes it's giving its light and it's not. So again, the sun won't give its light and the moon will not give its light. So the sun would represent a form of guidance, I feel, for the earth, of a sense of something that is an added activation type of energy that is supposed to be charging or something with the earth. This is just what I'm feeling like I'm seeing. Excuse me. And then the moon, again, whenever I think of moon, I also see, I don't know why I think of a form of, like I said, law or even Spanish or Muslim or type of energy, right? And the earth is going to be of all. The earth is going to be of all that energy. Again, like when it came to Diana, right? One of the so-called witches, Diana, she was a child of the moon and the sun. And that's why she was powerful. She could use the elements of the earth, air, water, and fire. She was a weaver, right?
You see the car come back, you might see it pull up slowly, front, middle, and the back of the car. So when those phases of the moon are going through, that's movement of the moon.
Okay. So this makes me think of, right? And this is just my channel, and this is how we just gonna do it. This makes me think about, again, I think when we're talking, the womb or fertility, or again, I'm gonna keep on bringing up Tubal or Tubal Cain, because again, we are talking about, again, when we're talking about the Lord, when Eve told her husband, "Oh, look, I got a son from the help of the Lord," right? From the help of the Lord, right? Now, lords can be lords or lordesses, right? They can also be handmaids, again, in a certain time when there may be a design where there might be, again, certain districts, or, a place will be broken up, like in the Handmaid's Tale, right? So again, in this day and age, I don't think that they can really just come and rally people up. But again, in my eyes, I see it as that. I see it that, like in the movie Jupiter Ascending, they wanted to get her eggs. And I feel like we are dealing with groups that are also dealing in fertility, because again, they are still looking at all of us as chattel or cattle, no matter what type of paperwork you have in your hand. Because they have tools where you won't even be aware as to what is going on. Now, I'm not talking against it or anything. We're just looking at it in a different light. So again, just even him giving that visual of, you either see it from the front or you see it from the back or whatever. Why? Because I'm seeing something like even Moonchild or something, right? At this point in time. And that, again, there seems to be a sense of, a child being born or something, or a sense of something. But again, in this energy, what I'm saying, what I've been seeing and what I've experienced over the past couple, no one would want, okay, what I've experienced with my body, okay, right, and a feeling of loss, in a sense. Even at times when I'm not even active, we'll just say that. I know myself. I've had babies. I've had twins. I can sense things that are different and very heavy and awkward and painful. So I'm just wondering. Through downloads and messages and information, intel, again, seeing little visions or glares or like a little insight on these particular type of things that are not really being spoken of. So it makes it even harder to be someone that is, again, in that jar. And how do you, people are trying to make it seem like you're some kind of way so that they can have some kind of way to take advantage of your position as an heir, possibly, to a throne, to some land, to funds, to whatever, when it comes to heraldry, right? So, people are trying to use people close to you and, distant relatives and, again, advanced relatives to, again, while the true nurturing mother is left to tell the story, but while she's doing this, what's happening like it's happened every time before? Everything is almost like that. It's like while she's, even when we're talking about like Yeah. Right. And so again, that leaves her in a vulnerable position, which is how, again, kingdoms were won at one particular time or plenty different times in his story. And this is why we like to try to peek into her story here. So again, I since this, I've had visions of something as to this, and I've noticed certain things and certain people come and go. And again, yeah, you know, it's almost like I'm being hidden, but certain people are hiding. Lots of things are being hidden. And even though there are those around me, I feel certain energy, the ancestors, guides, and angels. All of them are not there for my benefit. Some of them are just there to surveil and collect intel.
The moon can rotate around the sun, around the earth, because it doesn't have as much water as the earth has.
Okay. Now, I mean, I'm seeing what he's saying, right? But it's automatically telling me to see something else, and you know, when we're talking about that water, for some reason, is making me think of maritime energy, and it's also making me think of maritime laws, and how, again, certain things, again, documents are good, but again, in my eyes, the way I look at it is documents aren't always they aren't always legit, nor do they always tell the truth. Again, we know this by looking at so-called the Plecker effect with changing identities on paperwork. And do we think that that's the first time that this has happened? Think again. That's why I go back to the basics. I go back to the bare minimum. Everybody should be able to do that when they're assessing a situation. Non-biased, just looking at it for what it is. So we know there's a lot of talk about Moorish empires. I don't have anything against any empires. We're all here now dealing with this. Right? But in my eyes, from the research that I have done, I still think that there is, again, a group of Aborigines that were here prior to them. We notice that a lot of things when we talk about, like, even the Moors of Spain, there's white Moors, so-called white Moors too, but then white also means pure, right? And then we have, like, in 1607 or 1609, whenever it was, around that same time, the same time that they supposedly fell overseas, you can see that things started to switch over when certain people were here. And they separated those particular dark-skinned people by law from the Aborigine people that were already here. There were certain guidelines and certain protocol. Again, I posted this on my channel. There's 10 years worth of information on my Facebook page.
The earth cannot rotate around anything because of the water that's here, the gravitational pull. Okay?
Okay, because of the water and the gravitational pull. I guess we'll skip that, but, you know, I also look at it, you know, in this, I'm just looking at it on a lighter view that because we like to talk a lot about skin tones and things like that, right? We'll just leave it right there. Those really dark-skinned Indians you see with grass skirts around the time when they were dealing with tobacco, coming in for the tobacco. And you see it on the tobacco things. Those are the same German Indians that you see over there in Germany on the buildings. You can tell by their features, and I can see and sense right through. Not to say that I don't have it or anybody else doesn't have it in them either. I'm just pointing something out. By the way that they even separated the family, the bloodlines with my family in the Carolinas or the Carolinas. Sumerian. Well, anyhow, they separated the darker groups from the lighter groups. Excuse me. Also, I wish I did. This dark in here, and I don't feel like pulling out no Bible about how the I wanted to look back and see exactly who the sun was supposed to be being over and who the moon was supposed to be guiding, right? You know, Harriet Tubman used the moon, you know, a lot of times in that movie and stuff like that to navigate the way. So again, also just what triggered a thought too is, you know, having to do with waters, right? You know, possibly even, you know, like I said, the earth would be with all. The earth is if we look at it in the sense of, you know, Lilith or whatever being and I'm not saying, you know, I could just see that energy. I can somewhat channel that energy sometimes. So, when we're talking about Lilith as the mother of all, right? Of the origines, right? Which is probably why she was depicted in the way she was, right? Again, but that's just dark, you know, the dark mother I see that they try to portray her as, you know, and like I said, that can have something to do with the earth joining with the earth or darker view people joining with darker view people, right? So again, that's just to mention that, right? But then Eve was the mother of the living, right? So we know that, again, going back to that whole dead in the eyes of law, right? But then who put that into the protocol? You see? Was it the people that came over here and needed to put that in the protocol so that they would be able to reign or rule on it? Because the Lord, remember in Genesis 2, he hadn't let nobody reign on the earth yet. So what I feel like at this point is that this Lord, which is not God, is just a Lord, right? Or a Lordess, is going to let someone reign on the earth. And I'm guessing it's because of, and I'm seeing female energies, Eve and Lilith even here, where there's some jealousy or strife or something going on. There's a miscommunication, or again, the fact that the sun had been kept away from the earth and had been dealing and dabbling here and there, while we might see, right? While we might see this happen. And what happens to the earth? Because again, people cry about recycling and we care for the earth, but do they really? And I always say, if you really care about how to heal the earth, you would start with her original children. You would start with her children. So let's keep going.
And the moon, most of the water when the earth and the moon were separated, poured off one into this side. And the reason for that was because life was going to be created on this side, and they needed all the water on this side.
Mm-hmm. So life was going to be created on that side and all the water on that side. So again, in my eyes, I'm seeing the whole forming of the living creatures, which are going to be the people that are going to be the adults in the situation, that are going to, again, which reminds me of the prick that everybody's getting. Right? Which is an alter or alteration of the RNA and DNA. Because these waters are what was carried on the waters? Ships. The ship have a belly, don't it? Right? Just like, with ships, and no man will buy you, right? Okay? Deuteronomy 28, around there. All right? The ships pull up to the dock and they get delivered, just like you go to the doctor and deliver your baby. Right? So, let's see. So these relationships, these courtships, right? So again, this is talking about a group of people that look like American Aborigines or Origines, right? That point out the fact that some people that might have a little bit more of an Asian twang to their appearance, or a little bit of a more copper colored, even though that's what it says in the dictionary in 1828, when they have a more copper colored tone, those are the ones that may be Asian, right? So they came up with that bill quick, didn't they? But again, if we look at it like, excuse me, in the sense where a lot of these groups are in tribes and nations, not all of them, are pointing out the fact of certain things to try to, again, vilify or deny or to smear or to form a certain perception of certain groups. And I'm not saying any group in particular, I'm just saying what I've seen. So we're talking biblical again. The Lord God creating stuff when God was asleep. Now, again, let's say that this was God, this was God in the world card, trapped. With the reeds and what looked like a serpent is wrapped around her, and on the tarot card you have the man up there in the cloud, and then you have the bird-like creature, where it's describing exactly what's in the Bible. Okay? Is describing to the T what's in a verse in the Bible about when he looked, and I think it's in the book of Ezekiel, when we're talking about Ezekiel's will. I've done a video on Ezekiel's will. That is an extensive video on the channel if you want to go look at it. It's all physical, spiritual, historical, symbolic, and it's all talking about it in the Word. So, again, and we're thinking, oh, well, it's people that look like us, but then again, are these the same people that, again, had a part in your so-called enslavement, when they say that so-called Africans sold Africans into slavery, or so-called Arabics? We better check and see who the first nations, the origines of all of this planet were. And it's not even to call it anything but what it is. So you think they didn't look like you? Yeshua went to his own people, or the Christ energy went to their own people and was denied access. Okay.
No life that was going to be created on the moon. So the moon didn't need as much water.
Okay.
Right? It was
all right. So no light was going to be on the moon or whatever. No life or life, maybe he said. So again, it didn't need that much water. But what I'm saying is, it's almost like, when I'm thinking of this, that again, they didn't need to be monitored the way I see it as this. This is what I see it, and that's what I'm just going to say, because I know certain people mention certain things about monitoring and certain things about this, but then again, some people, again, give off one impression. They might have caved, but they give off one perception. Again, they've already gotten to where they need to be, and that's fine, But then, you have the earth standing, on its axis, running its mouth. There's no guidance there, though. It's all spiritual. It's all holy, whole. See the whole thing. So, again, it didn't need that much. Again, and also I'm thinking of, again, we're talking about the habitation of the habitation of, when we're talking about Babylon or whatever too, that sometimes I feel like in a sense is talking about, again, we can go a little bit deeper, right? A sense of, what I see is a sense of space age pimping. We'll just call it that. And I don't know how deep it goes, but again, I don't hear and see these things for no reason. No one doesn't want to keep a grips on my channel and my information for no reason. No one is over here grabbing information and sitting in certain positions of so-called power at this point in time while they're sending people over to throw a wrench in my life and my situation for no reason. No one should be intimidated, again, by certain people's words for no reason. The earth is the one sitting there with the weight of the world on her shoulders. Isolated or treated as an island. Where people want to promote fear or some sense of something, but she is sitting in her well-balanced form, but she also, again, right? We know that Ra sent Sekhmet, right? And we know what they did to her. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. They drugged her, basically. Turned her into a house cat. And that house cat represents Beset to me. And I don't think that Sekhmet and Beset are actually the same. I think that Beset is the idolized version, the darker, more sleek, slender kitty. Not the robust, square-faced, made to look vicious when she was coming to bring order, Sekhmet. They make her with the claws and the teeth and, again, still beautiful images, but again. Where Sekhmet reminds me of a Esther in a sense, or again, Ashura or Ishtar energy. There's been books written that agree. And she would have been Sheba, the original, but Makeda, or whatever the other name is, again, would be your Bastet energy. Which again, Bastet would have started off being somewhat of a replica of Sekhmet, but again, would have been tamed to a certain extent and then placed in a certain position. And I think that's the more Nefertiti features, right? The taller, more slender, more Nefertiti features, which again, there's people that agree that Sheba was not Makeda. It was two different, right?
going to be used. And it would still have water. And as I told you before, the moon does have water on it, but the only point of the moon having water is only for the pull of the tides on this planet.
Right. So the law, right? So we're talking like the law when it comes to maritime energies or entities having hold of the moon behind the scenes. And this is why it is able to have the pull that it has on the earth to try to subdue the earth, to try to do things. And we are talking sorcery. Again, we are talking certain things, elements being used in order to affect the earth. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. Because even the moon has been hovering over the earth, right? When it gets really dark, she still can't see. She can't see, right? They want to get more of a look or a glimpse on the earth. So what can happen at nighttime when you're sleeping? Not to say that this has to do with this, if this is going off subject, but not really. Females, just again, be careful about what you're eating and drinking and things, again, at certain times. Be aware of how you feel when you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning. Because people think this whole thing with this divine community thing is cute for some reason. And for me, again, I don't necessarily see it that way because I see a little bit deeper than some of these readers. Some of us have been given a little bit more insight on certain things, but it puts you in a tight spot because you can't speak on those things because you know that everybody's waiting for you to say the wrong thing so that they can be off with your head, because again, you're the public enemy, number one. They are never going to allow for the original, again, and this is a way to, then I guess you have to try a little bit harder or try to do whatever. But again, for me, source telling me just you are the conductor of this particular energy. Use what you got. It's already in you. So I'm in my Moana energy right now. Thinking that knowing that I've led the people to a certain point. I've led them and others, right? Have led us to a certain point of a way of freedom or seeing. And the answers are all inside. Even though we use outward tools and other works to, see and share, right? So again, call it a sacred story time, if you'd like. Nobody's saying that the moon actually wants to do this. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't know. So that pull that they have is because, again, the hidden hand. The same thing that the pull of certain other individuals in the southeast of the garden, right? That have been planted there because, again, it's not the original root. More idolatry. Even in the south, planted in the south of that area of the north, like Lower Egypt, like we have Cairo, Illinois, right? And then we have Lower Egypt, whatever would be down there, right? Will be planted there. So the four corners of the earth is representing four mountains or four masses or four giants These are earthly goddesses in my eyes that may have male or masculine energy as well. They are to link up with certain divine other masculine or so-called feminine energies to do works. But in this time, I don't know how or who or which way it's going. But again, I feel like whatever way it is for me, that it's really not even meant for me to do that, because again, if it's done the wrong way, then source in the Bible says that not one stone will be, right? And it's all because there was no real unity. Even though they looked at certain people as they don't want unity. Did you really? So it's unity when it comes to, marching in the streets and things like this, or things that are on that surface level. But if you deal with the deeper roots of things, when it comes to people coming together, it's a wrap. Nobody can get along when it comes to fixing the things from the beginning or from the root up. Because if the roots are damaged, then the tree ultimately is going to fall, along with the strange fruit. And ultimately, there will be an energy that comes and is going to do what they were supposed to do in the first place. And that will be the person that is the mother of the heavens and the earth, and her consort. There is that connection that must happen to heal the earth, and it has to do with true love and a purpose that is, I feel, at some point in time throughout this course has been halted or whatnot for whatever reason. And I think it has something to do with, like source says in the Bible, these people go to man's law. They don't care about nature, right? Or what's natural. So we'll keep going.
And also to filter out the sun's rays into the planet. The moon is a buffer to the sun. The moon is
So the moon is the buffer to the sun, and the buffer in the moon, or whatever we're talking about, the buffer to the sun. Well, if it's a buffer, that means that the moon is going to be, I think fertility when I think about the moon. And I would think that it would be dealing with some fertile type of energy. And again, to me, being in a situation that I'm in and experiencing some of the things that I've experienced over the past couple of months, there's nothing on this earth that can tell me, there's nothing here on this plane that can tell me that I'm not knowing what I'm seeing. And it don't necessarily have to be, I'm talking about with this particular individual. I feel like, again, we're talking about when the Watchers and the Fallen, again, created these giants, which also could just mean, like I said, people that had a big presence on the plane at that time. They did not have to be large people. Just, if you look up giants in etymology, you'll see. So, demigods, or gods and goddesses with a little g, because there's a new thing happening. But how is it a new thing if people are trying to pull one over on source, the earth and the sun, right? And then do what they want to do? So that's the buffer. So we're saying, like, even on Handmaid's Tale, the women, for whatever reason, were not able to. And again, this has me thinking of, again, certain androgynous beings, possibly. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying what I'm saying, right? So certain androgynous beings, right, is what I felt like that was representing. If we look back at royalty and things like this, you'll see it all the way through history. It's nothing new. Why? There's nothing new. So when we're talking about this, sometimes it makes me want to think if that, has something to do with it, or again, was there a fertility issue because of a prick that people might have taken, because this has happened several times over the course of history, and they was giving pricks out even in the 1800s. Okay, so again, seems like every time a so-called reset or something happens, this is the same course that's taken. So again, it could be because of issues or age. Some, we see they talk about age in the biblical text sometimes with some of these women, right? And guess who were the ones that were giving the babies? The earth, the earthly mothers, the earthly mothers that were the origine women up from the soil. They knew exactly who they wanted to have the babies, right? So they can also have ties to the land, right? But again, so let's say if this was some type of idolatry, and then the baby is actually from the sun and the earth, but it has been, again, developed at a certain point by the moon, right? A moon or a moon energy. What are we talking about? Because now I'm just seeing this whole, again, it doesn't have to be this way, but I'm seeing this whole Mary, Queen of Scots, the sovereign queen, ordained by God, right, to be the ruler, but she ended up locked up in jail with her baby. And the baby went to, I think, Elizabeth, right? So, okay, let's keep going.
Upward to the earth, I mean to say, so that the sun does not have direct access or direct projection to the earth, because the earth could not take direct projection. Everything would be luminous here. Everything would be glowing here.
Okay, true. But yeah, and I think that is the case. I think it happened anyways, right? When we're talking about the yoke. And also I feel like when it comes to the earth, I'm talking about in the biblical text. I'm trying to low key, just layman's term, give it to you, right? So again, for whatever reason, there's no direct contact to the, earth. It's almost reminding me of the sycamore tree, or a tree of life, or the life giver, or Bilquis, or again, for whatever reason. But I feel like there was a reason why they didn't want that act to happen, because it was supposed to call. I was watching something by Bobby Hemmett a while back, that whatever interaction between these people that were supposed to come in the future and meet up, and there was supposed to be an act that was supposed to happen. We'll call it a dance between one energy and the other energy, which are the oldest energies, and then that was going to cause something of some kind of combustion. And again, that would be what we would need in order to actually heal the earth. But we can act like we're really healing, or the planet, right, as a whole, for everybody. So we can act like that's what we're doing right now. But again, no, it's going to be something that is orchestrated to look like something. So you're going to have the perception. This is what we always talked about, perception on this channel. You're going to have the perception of something when it's really not. Like peace, when there's really war. You remember the Bible said that?
The earth if the sun had direct access to the earth, everything would be luminous here. Everything would be radioactive here. Everything would be in straight illumination here. So no, that's not the case. The moon was set apart, or blown apart, or broken off from the earth to sun's rays into the planet, right?
Okay. Filter out the sun's rays into the planet. Yeah. So again, that's also just makes me think of something that is, again, I don't know. I'm just seeing like a surrogate energy. I'm just seeing a surrogate energy. That's just what I'm seeing. And it feels like people are dividing up. You know, we know seamen came over on the sea, right? Right? We know that angels represent soldiers, or, right? So, don't they fly today? They had wings back then, but you're not realizing that the parts of this Bible wasn't even written in until the 1800s. So when we've done videos on that too, as if they're speaking, hey, this, and that. You know, we saw these like grasshoppers, and they was, you go ahead and look back at, what is it, MASH? What's that show? I couldn't stand. Whenever I heard the music, I hurry up and turn off the TV. But y'all know what show I'm talking about. Okay? If you read that chapter and read that again, right? And you'll see, like, even I think there was down in South America, they went and they were talking about these people, these that were at some point in time uncontacted people. I think it was South America, where, you know, the people thought that these people were gods because they came over, you know, with flying objects or whatever, and they were trying to explain it, and they would bring stuff up there like to the airplanes. You know, it's just, if we really just think about it on basic, I mean, I'm just saying, just common sense, actually, really. So
I give it direct projection, direct transmission. All right.
Okay.
And like I said, this is why we see phases of the moon, because that's the moon moving around the earth, right? In stages, moving around the earth to filter the rays. And when people talk about the moon's light, the moon has no light. The moon.
See, because I look at it as a form of cock blocking, or blocking the light that would be radiant and awesome. We're going to stop right there for a second. I mean, we only made it 3 minutes in on this video. Let's just go ahead and let it, hold on, let's stop. Okay, it's already at 52. I told y'all hours the videos are probably going to be from now on. Let's just let it go ahead and finish playing for 5 more minutes or whatever.
It has no light. The light that you see coming through the moon is the sun. The sun's light, or the sun's what appears to be light, is the reflection from the sun.
Okay. So again, if we're talking about the Son of God, which is the descendant, right? Right? And if we think about Gaia as a god, right, that gave birth, right? So again, just like, again, ships are birthed at the dock. I mean, let's not keep going back to that. But so, like, okay. What we're saying is, when it comes to certain information, which now I'm seeing why certain people didn't want me talking about certain things, but only certain things. And when I didn't talk about those things, then I started to get problems, right? Again, people act like they don't see. You know, they act like there's only certain people that, there's been arguments about who built the community, but we all have put something in. Some people do a little bit more of this or that than the other people, right? Some people have a deeper insight. Some people have that light, that radiant something that's already in them that's penetrating out. There are conductors or vessels of just pure, just like some type of energy that's like even out of this world, but not godly, heavenly in a sense. Like, you know how some people say, oh, you got, what source, where sources did you get that information from? You see what I'm saying? So again, like I told y'all before, And people are going to say, well, you didn't, say or state that this and that. I don't mind nobody using no information from the platform or whatever. But again, I mean, it'd have been nice for somebody to give credit once, especially when you know, and I'm not even talking about the moon at this point in time, I'm talking about like other plants. When you already know, it's like a succubus copycat energy. The scary part is when you see similarities between individuals, and I'm going to keep saying it. Because some people are very well versed with law and paperwork and documents. They may even work in those fields. And some of us are very well versed and deeply rooted in a certain type of energy. There's the spiritual, and there is those that are the other or of law, man's law. And there's natural law that are naturally away, people that are naturally away. And they're a little bit more down to earth, which again, some people, don't really vibe with that much. They'd rather it be more, materialistic, and not even to say that anybody is, I'm just saying, where it looks a certain way, right? It looks a certain way. But I always wonder, when something looks really like that on the outside, what is it really carrying on the inside? That's something that Source has taught me lately. Something that's probably going to get me in a lot of trouble. And I'm not even talking about any people in particular this whole time. Right? Because I look at people for that which is within you, your energy, the way you treat, I'm going to treat people the way that I want them to treat me. Right? So again, okay? So it doesn't have to do with anything. People get so up in arms. Hold on one second. It's only 3 minutes left. They get so up in arms when I mention stuff about money or materialism and things like that, when I'm not really even going all the way there.